If one thing hasn't changed through the years in pro wrestling, it's innovative finishing maneuvers. Every year you see a brand new match ender that dazzles you with its novelty. Creative head spikes, ligament-wrenching submission holds, and all manner of max impact strikes, there's nothing like an emphatic full stop on a match's sentence. With all the ongoing innovation, however, there are finishing moves that have been left in another time. And Cultaholic yearns to look back at trademark moves that have been rarely seen outside of their early usage. Some will make you go, man, somebody ought to bring that back, and others will make you say, man, somebody ought to bring that back just for a laugh. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 long-lost Golden Age WWE finishers. Join us! Number 10, throw the guy out the ring and win by countout. Now you might be thinking, isn't that how you win the Royal Rumble? And yeah, well kinda, except there's no count in the Rumble. Well, except for when a new entrant hits, but that's got nothing to do with the count out. Just stop confusing me. No, this is something completely different. This is how resident WWF Viking the Berserker won his many squash matches in the early 90s. See, Berserker was a crazy mofo that incessantly hussed like Bruiser Brody, had an unkempt beard like Bruiser Brody, and lost to pushed wrestlers. Not like Bruiser Brody. When Berserker did win, it was usually over the enhancement lot, utilizing a Royal Rumble elimination as his finish. He would lift you up over his shoulder as if attempting an atomic drop, then run toward the ropes, release you to the floor, and stalk around the ring, hussing it up while the referee counted the local loser out. Unusual way to rack up victories, and an odd way to prepare yourself for title matches. Number 9, the Stump Puller. In early 90s WWF, two individuals utilized the submission hold we're talking about here. Short-lived roughneck Big Bully Busick and the original heel version of Doink the Clown. The Stump Puller popped up from time to time in different places, but it hasn't stuck around as somebody's longtime finisher in generations. And it's kind of a shame because it's a hold that looks brutal, and most certainly is brutal once applied. With the opponent seated on the mat, legs forward, Busick or Doink would sit on their shoulders as if they were going to set themselves up for a doomsday device. Then, using their legs to restrain the victim's arms, the heel would reach down, grab one of the opponent's legs by the calf or ankle, and pull back on it, putting severe strain on the hamstring and its surrounding areas. The person taking the move has nowhere to go, and only one free limb to do anything with, and all that limb can do is tremble in agony. Efficient in design and painful in practice, the Stump Puller is a perfectly cromulent hold. Number 8, the Giant Elbow. You well know the People's Elbow, Dwayne Johnson's irreverent, melodramatic, most electrifying move in all of sports entertainment elbow drop that's preceded with plenty of high-octane theatrics. It's one of the most famous maneuvers to come from the Attitude Era. But almost a full decade earlier, though, Andre the Giant was using his own elbow drop to put opponents away. Though it must be noted that Andre's elbow, unlike The Rock's version, bore little to no frills. By 1989, Andre had become greatly limited as a performer, owing to severe back injuries as well as ongoing physical challenges caused by acromegaly. As such, Andre's moveset was whittled down to bare bones basics, and this included a finishing maneuver he primarily used while teaming with Haku as the Colossal Connection, the Giant Elbow. With the victim prone on the canvas, Andre stuck his arm out and simply tipped over to one side, landing like a redwood tree on a pickup truck. It's by no means flashy, but a 500-pound man landing on someone's torso, elbow protruding like the tip of a knife, would keep absolutely anybody down. Number 7, the Corroted Control Technique. This was one of the more confusing finishes in WWF history, to where even the announcers weren't always sure quite what was happening. The CCT was the trademark maneuver of the Mountie, Jacques Rougeau's charming time as a brash Canadian law enforcer. Highlights of Rougeau's Mountie were two disparately awesome theme songs, the Cattle Prod, and the time Big Boss Man put him in jail for a night, but not so much the technique. Essentially, the Corroted Control Technique was a two-part move that supposedly drew from Mountie's extensive police training. He would send the opponent into the ropes and snare them on the rebound in what looked like a two-handed chokeslam. Then, with the victim prone, Mountie would apply what looked like an illegal two-hand chokehold, but was apparently actually him merely applying pressure to the carotid arteries on both sides of the neck, subduing them long enough to be pinned. Eventually, Mountie switched to sleeper holds and pile drivers, both far less convoluted than the quasi-choke. Number 6, the Press Slam Backbreaker. Now here is a finisher that wouldn't look out of place today. There are all sorts of power guys, from Karrion Kross to Lance Archer to Powerhouse Hobbs to Jacob Fatu, that could polish off foes with some variation of this maneuver. Yet it's rarely been seen since its heyday in the mid-80s, when it was the go-to finish for wrestling's favorite Soviet national anthem singer Nikolai Volkov. You've seen a press slam and you've seen a backbreaker, two very basic maneuvers. Well, just combine them into one higher impact move. Volkov would simply press the hapless foe above his head before bringing them down across his knee to try and blow out somebody's lumbar region. Admittedly, he wasn't the smoothest wrestler, so his version didn't look as fluid as, say, if one of the younger aforementioned names were to do the move, but still, the press slam backbreaker was a pretty cutting-edge move for its time, and something that could be easily recycled today with some extra mustard behind it. Number 5, the Shaker Hights Spike. There's one particular clip of the spike that's gone semi-viral since the 2010s because a jobber taking it ended up simply ragdolled into oblivion. The video has led some to believe that the Beverley brothers tandem finish was always this dangerous, making fans wonder how it was even approved in the first place. Honestly though, that video is a bit of an outlier because the spike's been done far simpler. Bo and Blake Beverley's finisher was named after their kayfabe upper crust hometown in Ohio and is a two-part move. After sending the opponent into the ropes, Blake alley-oops them into a pseudo backdrop, and that's when Bo would jump up, grab the horizontally hanging foe's head, and then slam them face first into the mat. On most occasions, the victim would land flat like a top rope splash onto nobody, guided by Bo, sort of like a Super X Factor in other eyes. In that widely circulated clip though, the enhancement talent mistakenly went to cut a flip instead of sprawling out flat as intended, but no matter the result, the spike's been scarcely seen since 1993. Number 4, the Rooster Wing. We're not talking about the textbook chicken wing that Bob Backlund employed for much of his career. That submission hold is painful enough, doing a number on an opponent's neck, shoulder, and upper arm. A more extreme variation of the move went to, of all people, the Red Rooster. During Terry Taylor's infamous run as a rotten cock, he admittedly had a pretty badass finish. The Rooster Wing began similarly to the Chicken Wing, in that the opponent's arm was folded back into a hammerlock. But instead of adding a crossface and subduing the victim that way, Taylor would hook the arm and turn away from the wrestler. He would then lift them up off their feet, suspending them entirely by their bent arm and letting their sagging body's weight do all of the damage. It's a hold that, if applied for more than 3 seconds, would tear your arm out of the socket. Bonus fact, before the Rooster Wing, Taylor used a Scorpion Deathlock as his finish. Its customized name? The Cock of the Walk. Seriously. Number 3, Teardrop Suplex. It's hard to imagine Shawn Michaels ever beating anybody with something other than sweet chin music, or even a sharpshooter that your spiteful boss calls for the bell during. So it may be surprising for younger fans to learn that before 1994, the superkick was a smaller part of Michaels' arsenal, a setup move at best. In his early HBK days, Michaels polished off the opposition in a different way. The Teardrop Suplex was so named for Michaels' Heartbreaker motif, and was a punishing, if unspectacular, punctuation. He took a Saito suplex, a sort of hip-to-chest back suplex, and added a little wrinkle to it. Michaels would clasp his hands against the foe's perineum, that's the underside that stretches from the genitals to the anus, and then elevate them into a back suplex using that peculiar lift. It's not the worst move, but it's certainly not as exciting as sweet chin music. And it's pretty hard to imagine Michaels culminating the boyhood dream at WrestleMania 12 with a teardrop suplex in sudden death overtime. Number 2, the Rockerlex. Hang on, we're not done talking about HBK and suplexes. Let's just quickly go back a few short years prior before Marty Jannetty dove through that window to flee from Michaels. What a coward! Back when the Rockers were unified, they busted out all sorts of innovative double teams in their matches. One of which was an alternate finisher that should have been their main one. While Michaels and Jannetty favored the tandem double flying fist drop, they sometimes put opponents away with what became known as the Rockerlex. Quite simply, Michaels would tag Jannetty before taking one stunned adversary and lifting them into a delayed vertical suplex. Jannetty would then come off the top rope with a diving crossbody, hitting the upside down opponent for a super splat to the canvas. While the flying fist drop demonstrated both men's aerodynamic prowess, the Rockerlex was a far more devastating and better-looking finish for the duo Gorilla Monsoon referred to as the Masters of Motion. And number 1, the Atomic Nuggie. If you've ever played the WrestleFest arcade game, you know 2 things. 1, it's better than most of the home console games, and 2, Sergeant Slaughter has a funky finisher that the game refers to as a Cobra Clutch. It's most certainly not a Cobra Clutch, but it is indeed what Sarge won matches with for a time in 1990, even defeating Coco Beware and Ronnie Garvin with it. And that move is a literal Nuggie. Because Slaughter couldn't use his old Cobra Clutch since Ted DiBiase had the $1 Million Dream, he settled for this unique submission. After body slamming the opponent and then sitting them up, Slaughter would stand askew over the opponent's shoulders to pin them in place. He'd then grab one side of their head and dig 2 giant knuckles into the opposite temple before grinding them in semicircles. It's most certainly an unpleasant experience, but a finishing move? It's got its charms, sure, but sadly Slaughter switched back to a camel clutch shortly after, depriving us of the joy of potentially seeing Slaughter win the WWF title with a Nuggie.